In our village, the mornings used to arrive wrapped in mist. The air was cool and damp against your skin. It carried the smell of wet earth and wood smoke from early fires. The hills that cradled our homes were a deep, sleeping green. We knew their shapes by heart, even when the fog hid them from view. Life moved with a gentle rhythm, like a slow and steady heartbeat. The women would walk to the stream, their clay pots balanced on their heads. Their laughter would echo through the quiet air. We believed in the certainty of things. The sun would always rise. The rains would always come. The community was a rope woven from many strong threads. Our days were simple, but they were full. We planted yams and cassava in the rich soil. The earth was generous then. It gave back everything we put into it, and more. Children played games under the shade of the large iroko tree in the center of the village. Their shouts were a familiar and happy sound. We shared what we had. If a neighbor's harvest was small, others would bring yams and peppers to their door. No one asked for anything in return. It was just the way. We were bound together by an unspoken trust, a belief that we were all responsible for one another. This was the world we knew. The elders would sit on their carved stools, telling stories of the past. They spoke of our ancestors and the spirits that watched over the land. We listened, and their words settled deep inside us. They were the roots that held us firm. The stories taught us who we were. They reminded us that we belonged to this place, and this place belonged to us. The mist would listen too, clinging to the thatched roofs like a quiet guardian. It held our secrets and our histories. It promised another peaceful day would follow the night. We did not know then how fragile that peace was. In the evenings, families gathered outside their homes. The sky would turn a soft, bruised purple. The air would fill with the scent of evening meals cooking over open fires. The sounds were soft, a mother humming to her child, the low murmur of conversation, the chirping of crickets beginning their nightly song. We felt a deep sense of contentment. Life was not easy, but it was predictable. It was ours. We did not imagine a time when the silence would be filled, not with peace, but with a heavy, waiting fear. We did not know that the ground beneath our feet could betray us. Then the rain stopped. At first, we did not worry. The dry season was often long, but weeks turned into months. The sun became a cruel white eye in the sky. The earth grew thirsty, then cracked open like a broken plate. Our crops withered and died. The vibrant green of the hills faded to a tired, dusty brown. The stream where the women fetched water shrank to a muddy trickle. Hunger began to whisper in the quiet corners of our homes. It was a quiet worry at first, then a loud and demanding ache in the bellies of our children. The rhythm of our lives was broken. The government men came in their shiny cars. They came from the city with big promises. They spoke of relief funds and bags of grain. They told us help was coming. We listened. We wanted to believe them, but the grain never arrived. The money they spoke of seemed to vanish into thin air, like water spilled on the hot ground. We heard rumors. The men in charge were filling their own pockets. They were building big houses in the city with the money meant for us. The trust we had, that rope that held us together, began to fray. We started to look at each other with suspicion. The young men in the village grew restless. Their fathers' farms were barren. There was no work. There was no food. Their pride was a sharp stone in their throats. They started to gather under the iroko tree, but they were not playing games. Their voices were low and angry. They spoke of injustice. They spoke of corruption. They said, "We cannot just sit and watch our families starve." They planned to march to the district office. They wanted to demand what was rightfully ours. The elders warned them to be careful. They said anger is a fire that can burn down your own house. But the young men would not listen. Their hunger was louder than the elders' wisdom. My son Lutho was one of them. He was tall and strong, with a smile that could gentle your heart. He believed in fairness. He would say, "Mama, it is not right that some have too much while we have nothing." He would share his last piece of bread with a neighbor's child. His heart was good and true. When he told me he was joining the protests, my own heart grew heavy with fear. I held his face in my hands. I told him, "Be safe, my son." He promised he would. He believed their voices, raised together, would be enough. He believed in the power of words. I wanted to believe with him, but I was a mother, and a mother's fear is a deep and ancient thing. The day of the protest arrived, hot and breathless. The sun beat down on the dusty road. The young men marched, their voices rising in songs of defiance. I watched Lutho go. He wore his favorite blue shirt, the one I had mended for him so many times. He turned and gave me that bright, hopeful smile. It was the last time I saw it. The protest turned violent. We heard shouts, then screams. The government sent soldiers. They did not come with words. They came with guns and tear gas. The chaos was a storm that ripped through our village, tearing families apart. By nightfall, silence returned. But it was a terrible, empty silence. Some of the young men came back. They were bruised and broken. Their eyes were wide with a terror I had never seen before. But Lutho was not with them. I waited all night by the door, my heart a cold, heavy stone in my chest. I called his name into the darkness until my voice was raw. The morning mist came, but it brought no comfort. It only seemed to hide the answers I desperately needed. I began to search. I walked the dusty road where they had marched. I asked everyone I saw, "Have you seen my son? Have you seen Lutho?" Some shook their heads, their eyes full of pity. Others looked away, too afraid to speak. My search became my life. I went to the police station. The man behind the desk would not look at me. He shuffled his papers and said he knew nothing. I went to the hospital. The nurses were kind, but their lists of the injured did not have his name. I walked through the market, holding up his old photograph. His smiling face looked back at me from another time, a time before the world cracked. Each day was a cycle of desperate hope and crushing disappointment. The village watched me. They saw my grief. It was a mirror of their own. Many other mothers were also waiting. We were a silent army of women searching for the echoes of our lost sons. One afternoon, an old woman stopped me. She pressed something small and rough into my hand. It was a piece of cloth, a scrap of familiar blue fabric, torn and stained with dirt. "He was brave," she whispered, her voice trembling. "He stood in front of a soldier who was beating a boy. He shielded the boy with his own body." She told me she saw them take him away. The scrap of cloth was from his shirt. It was a tiny thing, but it was everything. It was proof. Proof of his courage, proof of his kindness. Proof that my son, my gentle Lutho, was a hero. I held the piece of his shirt against my heart, and I finally allowed myself to weep. I went home and gathered all the scraps of fabric I could find. Old clothes from my husband who was long gone, the dress Lutho loved to see me wear, the small blankets from when he was a baby, and the torn, precious piece of his blue shirt. My hands began to work. I did not know what I was making at first. I just needed to do something with my grief. I stitched the pieces together. Each stitch was a tear. Each patch was a memory. I sewed the brown of the dry earth next to the green of a remembered harvest. I stitched the bright red of a hibiscus flower next to the dark gray of our fear. I was sewing our story. Other women saw what I was doing. They started to bring me their own scraps. A piece from a daughter's wedding dress, a strip from a son's school uniform, a square from a father's favorite wrapper. Each piece of fabric held a story of someone lost or missing. My small quilt grew into a larger one. It became a map of our sorrow. We would sit together as I sewed. The women would talk. They would share stories of their loved ones. They would speak their names aloud so they would not be forgotten. The silence that had filled our village began to fill with words again. We were not just stitching cloth. We were stitching our community back together. The quilts grew. We made more. We hung them on the wall of the village hall, a vibrant tapestry of our collective heart. They were beautiful and they were painful. They told the story of the mist and the morning, of the drought and the corruption, but they also told the story of bravery. They told the story of Lutho shielding a small boy. They told stories of small kindnesses and immense courage. The children would come and look at the quilts. They would ask about the colors and the names. We told them the stories. We made sure they knew. The quilts became our history books. They ensured that the truth would not be erased. The rains have started to return, softly at first. The hills are showing hints of a shy new green. The government men have not come back. Lutho is still gone. The empty space he left in my life is a wound that will never fully heal. But when I look at the quilts, I feel a flicker of something. It is not happiness. It is not peace. It is hope. A stubborn, quiet hope. I see the threads that connect us all. I see the strength in our shared memories. The future is not clear. The mist has not fully lifted. But we are talking again. We are remembering together. And in our remembering, we are planting the seeds of a new beginning.